Florida Senator Rick Scott, my guest, continuing our conversation about the funding for the federal government. So, Senator, what do you think are the stumbling blocks that stand in the way of an agreement between the Republicans and Democrats to continue funding government?
I think up here, it's, the way you compromise is everybody gets everything. That means you the consumer, you the taxpayer, you the American citizen, just pay more. You pay more for government because everybody gets everything they want. That's why we think about how much debt has been increased in this country since Ronald Reagan left office.
Right.
It's staggering because everybody just compromises and spends more money. So at some point, we got to say to ourselves, inflation is caused by government spending. It's not fair when gasoline prices and food prices go up because government has caused massive inflation. It's not fair that the poor have less opportunity than other people because of massive government spending and allocating dollars. So I believe in individual freedom and individual rights and individual responsibility, not big government.
That's the irony of this, that this government debt spending actually hurts the poor. The very ones that they say they're trying to help, they're the ones that are robbed of future prospect of advancing because of this debt. And speaking of the debt, what's the status on the debt ceiling, which allows the government to borrow more money? Aren't we bumping up next to that?
Yeah, so here's the things that are going to happen, and everybody needs to be active with their representatives, their senators, their House members. Call them and tell them what you think. When should we be a brick wall, right? I believe we ought to be a brick wall right now. And how much federal debt should we allow? The debt ceiling just basically says how much federal debt can we assume? Can we, pay for? We have to pay for that. We have to pay for it through borrowing, through taxes, and if we borrow the money, then maybe you don't pay it today, but you either pay it tomorrow, or your kids or your grandkids pay it. Think about this, Tony. Would you raise your child to be dependent on government? You would not. We don't do that. We raise our children to be independent, to have a faith in God, but to be independent and say, I can do this with my faith in God on my own. That's not what the Democrats are pushing. They're pushing that you should be dependent on government. I don't believe in that. That's not good for anybody in this country. It's not good for my kids, your kids, or grandkids, anybody.
And the more debt we have, especially right now, when you look at the interest rates, we're having to pay more to service that debt, which leaves more or less money for the government to operate under. So we need to contact our members of Congress. We need to talk to our congressmen and our two senators. What's the timing that you think this is going to be worked out? Are they going to reach an agreement before the deadline?
They always do. It's talked now is they don't think they can get there, but they always do. So I think it's next Friday we have to either government gets shut down, or we either do a big spending bill that Democrats want to do, or we just continue to decide when we're going to do it. I think what we ought to do, the Democrats, they had the opportunity to do these budgets. They didn't do it. Let's give the next Congress the opportunity to do the budget. So let's do a continuing resolution through maybe February 15th and give the new leadership in the House and Democrats in the Senate, which they'll control going forward. Let's give them the opportunity to say, are you going to do a budget this time? If not, we've got to stop this. We've got to become the brick wall.
That makes perfect sense. I would think that the Republicans would all be in favor of that, since they would then be the drivers in the House. Can you not keep 10 Republicans from joining with the Democrats to pass a full year funding?
I'm going to do everything I can, but the key is going to be how many of your listeners call and say, you've got to become a brick wall. I say, my family can't afford more taxes. My family can't afford more inflation. My family can't afford more debt, which causes more inflation. So you've got to, as hard as it is, you've got to do your job to balance the budget and stop allowing this to happen.
Well, folks, there you have your marching orders. Be a brick wall. Here's the Capitol switchboard number. It's 202-224-3121. That's 202-224-3121. All you need to do, you tell them what state you're from, you want to talk to your senators, they'll connect you with their office. If you don't know who your House member is, I know the vast majority of our viewers and listeners do, but if you don't, just give them your zip code and they will connect you with your member of Congress. You'll talk to someone in their office and just tell them, hey, be a brick wall. Stand against this spending. Stop the spending. We cannot afford it. So, Senator, do you think Congress is going to be here up until Christmas?
Absolutely. I mean, what they try to do up here is they try to, the Democrats try to push everything to the last minute and say, oh, if you don't do this, government's going to shut down. If you don't do this, you won't get to go on vacation.
Right.
And guess what? Our job is to represent you and do what we told you we would do. We told you we'd be fiscally responsible. It's our job, whether that happens on December 24th or 25th or 26th. Look, would I like to go home and spend time with my family? Absolutely. But who's doing this? The Democrats. This is wasteful Democrat spending, and we cannot allow it.
We got to be a brick wall. Senator Rick Scott, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks again for your leadership on Capitol Hill. And we're going to back you up in pushing these Republicans to hold the line.
Thanks, Tony. Have a great day.
All right, you too.